The flight that changed everything. The air inside the cabin seemed charged, like static before a storm. 17-year-old Jordan Ellis sat rigidly in seat 18A, his boarding pass gripped firmly in his hand. The flight attendant, a woman in her mid-40s with sharp features and a neatly pinned bun, stood over him with arms crossed, her expression tight with forced professionalism. "I've asked you 3 times now to move," she said, her voice loud enough for half the plane to hear. Her name tag read Colleen Martin. "Either you comply, or I will have you removed from the aircraft." Jordan's voice was calm, but firm. "Ma'am, this is my assigned seat. I showed my boarding pass to the gate agent and to you. 18A. That's what it says." Passengers nearby shifted uncomfortably. A businessman across the aisle lowered his newspaper. A middle-aged couple a few rows ahead turned to whisper. Jordan felt their collective judgment settle like a weight on his chest. Colleen stared him down, lips drawn in a tight line. "I don't have time for this game." Without another word, Jordan pulled out his phone and tapped his screen. "Who are you calling?" Colleen barked, her voice slicing through the tense silence. "My father," Jordan replied. "You need to put that away right now. Devices must be in airplane mode." He locked eyes with her. "My father is a captain. He flies for this airline. I think he'd be interested in how you're handling this situation." No one on Flight 227 from Atlanta to San Francisco could have imagined that the next 45 minutes would ground the plane, shake up an entire crew, and start a conversation that would ripple far beyond the cabin. But to understand the moment everything changed, we have to start 6 hours earlier in a quiet Atlanta suburb. Sunlight filtered through the blinds of the Ellis household as the scent of cinnamon pancakes wafted from a kitchen. Jordan stumbled out of bed, bleary-eyed from staying up late polishing his application essay for Stanford. "Morning, champ," said his father, Captain Anthony Ellis, flipping pancakes in a t-shirt and jeans. His usual crisp airline uniform was nowhere in sight, but the disciplined bearing of a former Air Force pilot remained in every movement. Jordan slid onto the bar stool. "You made Mom's recipe?" "Only for milestone days. First solo flight across the country? That counts." Jordan grinned, tucking into the pancakes. "It's just a weekend trip. College tour, dinner with Mom and Keith back by Tuesday." Anthony's smile faltered slightly at the mention of his ex-wife's husband, but he recovered quickly. "Still your first trip alone. You know what to do." Jordan nodded automatically. "Yes, sir. Eres presentable. Speak clearly. Keep ID visible. Smile, even when I shouldn't have to." Anthony sighed. "I hate that you have to think like that." "I know, Dad, but you've prepared me." Anthony placed a steady hand on his son's shoulder. "You don't owe anyone an explanation for existing in a space. But if anyone challenges you, stand your ground with dignity." Those words would echo later, louder than either of them expected. At Hartsfield-Jackson, Jordan moved through the terminal like a Proclean-cut, khakis buttoned down, white sneakers. At TSA, the agent barely glanced up. "Your pre-check?" she asked, surprised. "Yes, ma'am. My father flies for this airline. I travel often." She blinked, then nodded. "You're good." Jordan found his gate early, texting his mom and grabbing a seat near a charging station. An older gentleman in a tweed blazer asked if he could sit nearby. The two struck up a conversation. Malcolm Reyes, a retired mechanical engineering professor from Georgia Tech, and Jordan, an aspiring aerospace engineer. "Stanford, Dr." Reyes said with a nod. "They'd be lucky to have you." Those words stayed with Jordan as boarding began. At the gate, the agent scanned Jordan's boarding pass, then looked him over. A flicker of something unreadable passed over her face, but she said nothing. "Have a nice flight," she said flatly. As Jordan stepped onto the plane, Colleen Martin barely glanced up. 18A is down that way, she said, already turning to the next passenger. Jordan made his way past first class into economy, took his window seat, and tried to settle in. A businessman in the aisle seat nodded politely. The middle seat remained empty until a college-aged woman arrived, gave a quick smile, then disappeared behind massive headphones. As the plane neared final boarding, Colleen returned, checking her manifest. She paused at Jordan's row. "There's a seat issue here," she announced, eyeing Jordan specifically. He showed her his boarding pass. 18A. It's right here. Her eyes narrowed. Our system has you in 32C. Then your system is wrong. She bristled. Please gather your belongings and move. Now, I'd like to speak with the lead attendant. I'm a lead. The standoff drew attention. Whispers rippled through nearby rows. Jordan stayed calm. I'm not refusing. I'm asking for verification. My pass hasn't changed since I checked in. No one mentioned a problem. If you don't comply, you will be removed, Colleen snapped. Jordan's fingers trembled as he dialed his father. Hey, son. Everything okay? Not really. They're trying to move me from my assigned seat. Colleen stiffened when Jordan extended the phone. My father would like a word. Reluctantly, she took it. Her expression shifted as she listened, first defensive, then surprised, and finally uneasy. Yes, Captain Ellis. Understood. She returned the phone with a stiff smile. We'll double-check the manifest. Moments later, another flight attendant arrived. They reviewed the screen. He's assigned to 18A, she said quietly. There was no error. Colleen returned, her voice tight. My apologies, Mr. Ellis. There was a mistake in our system. Jordan didn't reply. A younger attendant, Zoe, leaned in later with a bottle of water. I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened. Jordan nodded, grateful but still tense. The businessman beside him offered a quiet, good for you, son. The flight took off. Jordan watched clouds drift by, but couldn't shake the sense that he'd only just taken off into something much bigger than this journey. In the cockpit, Captain Lydia Harper reviewed Colleen's update with quiet scrutiny. Anthony Ellis' son? She asked. I've flown with him. Solid guy. She made a mental note to follow up. Colleen's description had raised red flags. Back in the cabin, things went smoothly until turbulence set in. As the plane shook, Jordan helped calm the nervous college student beside him, explaining air pressure, radar, and wind shear with the ease of someone raised around planes. You sound like a pilot, she said. My dad is one. When calm returned, the cabin bonded. Passengers chatted, shared stories, and the earlier tensions seemed to dissolve at least on the surface. But as the plane neared San Francisco, the conversation was just beginning. At the gate, Colleen watched Jordan deplane. He met her eyes briefly cool, not vengeful, but unmistakably aware. Then she was summoned to the cockpit. Tell me what really happened, Captain Harper asked. Colleen hesitated. He didn't look like he belonged in premium economy, she admitted finally. I assumed the manifest was right, and I was wrong. Rebecca said nothing for a moment. Then, we all have biases, Colleen. The difference is whether we acknowledge them. Fix them. Later that evening, back at the airport office, Colleen was reassigned pending further training. Jordan reunited with his mother, Dr. Renee Johnson, and her husband, Keith. Their Palo Alto home was warm, modern, filled with energy. They greeted him with love and curiosity. How was the flight? He hesitated. There was a misunderstanding. It's handled now. But the airline had different plans. The next day, Jordan's father called. A passenger filed a complaint about what happened. Jordan was stunned. Not me. No. But they want your statement. He considered it carefully. I don't want her fired. Then say that, Anthony said. But tell the truth. If this is about a pattern, not punishment, then you owe it to yourself and others to be honest. That afternoon, Jordan gave his account over the phone, factual, calm, and clear. When asked if race played a role, he said simply, I can't know what she was thinking, but I know how it felt. And it's not the first time I've felt that way. Back in Palo Alto, Jordan's mother supported his decision. Silence serves the status quo, she reminded him. Later that night, he got an email. Colleen Martin had been reassigned temporarily and enrolled in additional training. The airline thanked him for his thoughtful response. But the story wasn't over. The following morning, Jordan and his mom boarded a United flight back to Atlanta only to find Colleen, now off-duty and in civilian clothes, seated at the same gate. They locked eyes. Jordan approached. I didn't expect to see you. I'm not flying, she said. Just trying to get home. After a pause, she added, Thank you for speaking honestly. I've spent the last 2 days facing things I didn't want to see in myself. He nodded. I appreciate that. I didn't want to hurt your career. You didn't. You helped me grow. They were interrupted by a loud voice from another passenger demanding an upgrade. Colleen instinctively stepped in, defusing the situation with calm empathy. You handled that very differently than how you approached me, Jordan said. She met his gaze. I've been thinking about that too. I approached you as a threat. Him as a customer. That says a lot, doesn't it? Before they parted, she added quietly, I can't undo what I did, but I can make sure I do better. That starts now. Jordan returned to his seat with his mother. She owns it, he said. She's learning, Renee replied. That matters. As the plane lifted off, mother and son watched the clouds stretch beneath them. The world below, unchanged, but something inside both of them shifted. What began as one boy's struggle to hold his seat had become something more. A flight that grounded assumptions. A voice that challenged silence. And a conversation that, for once, reached cruising altitude.